What's going on, champions? Welcome back to the channel. This is Julien Stoutt, licensed personal trainer, licensed PE teacher, world record powerlifter, here to take the fear out of fitness. We're about to take off. Classes in session. Well, guys, if I were to tell you I will triple your salary, you'd be happy, right? If I was to tell you that I would triple your speed, triple your strength, triple your power, you'd be immensely happy with those results, right? Well, since we're in extremes, obviously, if I'm giving you good things in threes, in multiples of three, then I'm assuming you don't want anything from me if I could give it to you and it's negative in multiples of three. And what we have now is, over the last 20 years, we have literally tripled heart attacks. And the ones among us that are most vulnerable are my black sisters. Notice I didn't say brothers. We are in there, brothers, but particularly black women are in grave danger. And there is a misnomer about our physiques as black people, that we should just be happy with what we get. This is who we are. This is what we do. And it's all, thick grits and, it's all thick. It's not fat. And sorry to tell you, nope, we're wrong. Because there are a lot of mitigating circumstances that comes along with why we are obese. A, safety. B, both financial detriment and financial opulence. There, on both extremes, you will find us still on the obese side. Meaning, whether you broke or you have money, you're more than likely going to be obese if you are of African American descent. Now, I'm not going to go into the weeds as to why, at least not in this video, but what I wanted to do is express to you why is it important for us to make proper changes. Because we are only 15% of the population, black people, and if we are dying through heart attacks and everything else, especially violence, violence is another end of it too, especially with black men. Why are we not trying to make the changes in our lives to put us in a better position possible so that we could be the best us as humanly possible? Why are we always at the top of the worst statistics and at the bottom of the best ones? It's not racist. Racism might play a role in it, but it's not racist to call us out for not being in our best shape. So, here we go. So, heart disease deaths linked to obesity have tripled in 20 years. Study found increasing burden. Pun intended. Shares the chief reasons obesity puts extra strain on your heart. So, obesity has been a known risk factor for a wide range of diseases for a very long time. Now, a new study published in the Journal of American Heart Association has highlighted its link to heart-related deaths. Across a 20-year span, a number of obesity-related heart disease deaths tripled in the U.S., researchers found. Heart deaths were the highest among black people, particularly black women, followed by individuals of American Indian or Alaska Native descent. Okay? The number of people with obesity is rising in every country across the world. So don't think that this is just happening exclusively to us black people. It's happening to everybody. However, we are the ones most at risk. Our study is the first to demonstrate that this increasing burden of obesity is translating into rising heart disease deaths. The rising trend of obesity is affecting some populations more than others, particularly black women. In the study, researchers analyzed electronic health records from 281,135 heart disease deaths in which obesity was noted as a contributing factor. Doesn't mean you had to suffer a heart attack and died of that, but simply, what if you can't breathe because too much weight is on your chest? What if you feel congested, your heart and your lungs are being congested by so much fat surrounding your organs that everything fights harder to function? What if you suffered a stroke due to the fact that you were obese, but your stroke led to a heart attack or led for your heart to stop? What if your arteries just merely got clogged? It just doesn't work. What if you contracted a disease due to your obesity that wound up giving you a heart attack and made you die that way? All of these things are possible. What if you were on a plane and your obesity caused you to suffer a heart attack or DVT or have a pulmonary embolism for that matter? In the study, researchers analyzed them and they considered a contributing factor across the US. I read that already. Then they looked at gender, race, and setting. Now here's where the kicker kicks in, people. Deaths from heart disease rose from 2.2 to 100 per 100,000 people to 6.6, literally tripling per 100,000 people between 1999 and 2020. Black women had the highest rates of fatal heart disease linked to obesity. For other racial groups, men were more likely to be affected than women, which means black women are more likely to die than black men from heart disease due to obesity. Okay? But every other race, it's the inverse. The women outlive the men. Why is that? Black adults living in urban areas experience more obesity-linked heart disease deaths compared to their counterparts in rural environments. Meaning, black people who live in the country live longer and better than black people who live in urban societies. But the opposite was true for all other racial groups, with those living in rural areas at the higher risk. Meaning, if you are anything but black, living in the city is better for you. Now, I'm gonna get on the soapbox here in a second, but living in the city for other races of people is better for you than it is other races. Than the other race, because there's only one race that doesn't thrive in the city, and that's black people. Why is that? Could it be the environment that we live in and the things that we do in those environments? No, don't even try to come at me, because I lived in the hood for almost 2 decades. I know what goes on in the streets. And I know that since black on black crime is a thing, and when I say a thing, I doesn't mean that all other races don't do it. It just means that we do it more in an urban setting than we do in other places. However, we are more of a detriment to ourselves in the city than in other places. I don't think I've covered this on my videos, but I will tell you that interracial violence is extremely low. Meaning, if you are of the same, you should be more of your own race than you are of others, because the probability of death amongst interracial violence is very, very low, even though we have other political issues going on. And it means is we're not safe to go outside and be healthy. We have to stay inside. And if we don't stay inside, then problems happen. Whether that's mental health or socioeconomic issues or political issues being bestowed upon us, that is a whole nother can of worms that I'm not going to open up here. But what I will say is, think hard. Why is it that other races thrive in urban areas except us? But if we go out in the country, all of a sudden, we're healthy. We're better than we were. Because we have access to things that we don't have access to in the city. Whereas the inverse is true due to socioeconomic issues, per se. The trend of higher obesity-related cardiovascular death rates for Black women than men was striking and different from all other racial groups considered in our study. There are many reasons that obesity increases heart death risk. Okay. One contributing factor is that inflammatory chemicals build up in white fat, he said, leading directly to increased clotting risk and buildup of coronary plaques, which lead to sudden heart attacks. White adipose tissue is a type of fat that stores energy in large fat droplets. And excess of this type of fat can raise the risk of developing obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and other conditions, according to experts. Obesity is also associated with a sedentary lifestyle, poor food choices that can cause high cholesterol and high blood pressure, all of which also present direct increased risk from death from heart disease, who is not involved in the heart death study. Not reading names. Obesity also directly increases the risk of type 2 diabetes. There's a no-brainer there. This is because there are only so many insulin receptors per body surface area, which also increases the risk of heart disease and death from heart disease. Approximately 42% of the US population now has obesity, a 10% spike from the previous decade. Cardiovascular disease is the leading cause of death in the United States, claiming 928,741 deaths in 2020 alone. Now, I want y'all to think long and hard about that statistic, because I'm about to land the plane here. In 2020, we shut down the whole entire country over a disease that literally killed a mere 100,000 more. We shut down the whole country. Whether or not we needed to shut the whole country down or not is not where I'm going to play in the soapbox tonight. But what I will say is, if it was dire enough to be concerned that 1 million people could die of something that you can't see, why is it that we are going to put ourselves in a position where we are literally going to just let things happen to a disease that we can see? Yes, obesity is visual for the most part. There are the silent few, which is the skinny fat people, the people who are small in weight, small in BMI, but their body fat percentage exceeds 35%. Therefore, they are clinically and morbidly obese, even though they are small. Which proves my point in another soapbox that I kind of will get on before we go, which is obesity is not merely how much fat tissue you have. It is how much fat tissue you have in relation to muscle. So, if you are, it doesn't matter what your race is. It doesn't matter what your nationality is. It doesn't matter where you live. It is all about whether or not are you taking the proper precautions to go about your everyday living in the most healthy way possible. That means also not putting yourself, not being in settings where it is not safe. Also, not putting people in unsafe positions. And also, not getting comfortable in your surroundings so much that you cannot find yourself challenging your body in ways that you can be the best you. Guys, I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and on YouTube. If you like what you heard, click the like button, click the subscribe button and the all notifications so that you can get every bit of information I put out. Have a nice day. Be the best you. Class is Stoutt.